The Bears have one of the most consistent and best football teams in America when they play Albany and Texas State. This is Locked On Baylor.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to Locked On Baylor. I'm Drake Toll from Inside the Bears, alongside Cameron Stewart from Inside the Bears via Sports Illustrated. Thank you for making Locked On Baylor your first listen every single day. Cam, we're here again, where it's a Monday. Happy Monday to everybody, by the way, the first day of the week, of the work week, where Baylor beats a much lesser opponent, a non-Power 5 team, by as many points as they want to. And I'm still not even vaguely, there are so many parts of this game that I'm upset with. Why can't I be happy? Am I entitled? Do you think that's what it is? Or does Baylor just have some glaring holes that still are not filled?
I think you didn't listen to the sermon on Friday. That's what I think's up, Drake.
Did I listen to the sermon on Sunday? That's the real question.
I don't think you've been humbled enough,
right.
Which is wild since you're an Arkansas fan for so many years. You should realize how hard it is to win in college football. Yeah, I don't know why. I can understand the first half not being all that impressed. They still had a 21-7 lead. But
you could understand?
Yeah.
You could understand not being impressed with the first half.
I was slightly upset. I wasn't ready to pack it in or anything.
Yeah,
I thought the second half
visions of App State for a second. I thought it was legitimately possible. So did Dave and the team. You said it in the post-game press conference. They thought they could have lost that game at one point.
I thought the second half was pretty much flawless from Baylor. And so overall, I'm not worried at all. I'm that's a good performance. You have figured some things out. We have seen some signs of life in the second half that we were wanting to see. And so I feel good about the victory. I really do. Shut them out in the second half. 21-0 in the second half. They finally got some pressure on the quarterback. They got some sacks with some guys who aren't even playing all that often. And they found a running back, Drake.
You don't remember. You don't know what it was like. You weren't a student in 2021 when the Bears won the Sugar Bowl.
I was not a student, no.
You don't. You were a student during the years where Matt Rule was in his first season as the Baylor head coach, and they went 1-11.
I was a student, yep.
Yeah. Well, had you been a student during the Sugar Bowl year, you would know what it looks like for Baylor to be a real formidable opponent, have the prowess to beat up on Power 5 teams. And right now,
yeah, I wish I could remember it.
That performance against most Power 5 teams, especially that playing that poorly in the first half was bad. Also, defensive line. Are you asking questions? I'm asking questions. How many
Not
sacks?
after the second half, no.
Oh, yeah. We just haven't seen as many sacks as I was expecting. This is supposed to be the premier defensive line in the country, the premier offensive line in the country. And is Shapen still holding on to the ball too long? Okay. Guess what I saw? Guess what I saw on Saturday? Guess.
Don't tell me.
Yeah.
We can't say that on this podcast, dude.
Yeah,
we can't. No, we can't. Brown, pink, what?
Blake Shapen. Looking just like he did against... Are our expectations for Blake Shapen too high? What am I missing? I don't
honestly,
feel like
dude, I hate bringing up the comparison that everyone has made, but it just feels like Charlie Brewer. It really does. And that's okay, because as we can see, Charlie can win you some games.
11 wins that one year.
And he checked down a lot on Saturday. And I thought he was just fine. Nothing. I was really impressed week one. I thought, wow, he is better than Charlie.
He was the most impressive player on the team week one, in my opinion.
Yep. This last week, I was like, okay, there's somewhere in the middle. There's the average. He was great week one. He was pretty bad week two.
Really bad.
Here is the average week three. And if you can run the offense that Jeff Grimes wants to run, apparently, and that they ran last year, then you're still going to be a good team. I don't know if Richard Reich is quite the horse that Abram Smith was last year. But I think that's an average performance from Blake Shapen. And so your argument could be, well, we want to see a much above average against Texas State.
Yeah.
That's fair. But I think you can see a similar performance like that he had against Texas State as he will against Oklahoma, for example.
You said you listened to the sermon episode on Friday, and I
I
remarked
did.
I remarked
liked
in
the
that
sermon.
episode that I have a friend of mine who said, "Hey, how do you think Baylor's going to win this Saturday?" And
How
of
are you
course,
gonna
I was
explain it?
right. How I was like, obviously, it's Texas State, idiot. Which now looking back, I probably should have taken it a little more seriously after almost barring that Blake Shapen run.
They covered, dude.
Yeah, well, Baylor had 3 turnovers too. Well, I'm not even there yet. Then he said, "Is Shapen going to play better this week?" And I laughed in his face, thinking Blake Shapen was going to play immaculately better. And I just, Kyron Drones, that throw on the run, not saying we need to sub,
Geez.
not saying we need
Here
to
we
sub,
go.
but
Here we go.
people are making Charlie Brewer comparisons. Really? That's what you want? That's what you want? To settle for like, oh yeah, he's Charlie Brewer. No.
Look, Austin Novosad is not in the door yet, Drake. DJ Lagway has us in the top 10. He's not in the door yet. Okay? For us, the humbled Baylor fans, Charlie Brewer's pretty darn good. Wins you some games,
sometime.
Gets you to a Sugar Bowl. He's not RG3. He's not Bryce Petty. I get it. But that's going to work most of the time. If you've got a good coach and good coordinators on both sides of the ball, the Charlie Brewer thing could work.
Yeah, no, you're right. I just don't want to accept that Blake Shapen, after going all summer, yes, we had to pump out content, but also I vaguely was being serious about Blake Shapen being an all Big 12 caliber quarterback. His ceiling is there, 17 for 17 in the Big 12 championship that everyone's going to continue to talk about. And we haven't seen that Blake Shapen against a team not named Albany yet. In that game, people were tweeting, it was almost viral. The deep ball is back in Waco. Was it? Is it? What's the handicap? Why is it not working as well as I thought? And then BYU got peed on by Oregon.
That was way more surprising than the Baylor game.
I think that's like, add that to reasons I'm upset right now with the way Baylor played Saturday. I'm upset with the way Baylor played Saturday because the way that BYU played Saturday. They got embarrassed. Just embarrassed by Oregon. Baylor lost to that team.
It happens, man. It happens. BYU's still going to be a good team. But there's always that one, for the most part, where you look back and you're like, man, we lost to that team in like a charged atmosphere. Like they were up for it. That was their Super Bowl, and it never happens again. I mean, 2018, the Patriots won the Super Bowl, and they lost to Jacksonville in week 2. And Jacksonville was so charged up for the game. It was the team the Patriots had beaten the AFC Championship the year before. The Jags totally blown it. Yep. And the Jags beat them pretty handily. And I think they won 3 games the whole year. Patriots won the Super Bowl. It's like when you get all charged up for that one game, and we know BYU has been charged up for that one game for months and months and months, probably like Baylor was too, to be fair, then it's bound to be a letdown when they're not playing Baylor or they had beaten Baylor. And I think that's going to be one you look back on and you're like, not as obvious as the TCU one last year, obviously, but be like, damn, man, probably should have won that game. We're probably a better team than them, which I believe.
Cam, there are things that I did like from Saturday. First,
really,
yeah, you wouldn't believe it. I again, there are areas that I'm upset with, which comes from a point of privilege, having won 42-7, but it was not the easiest 42-7 win. Again, 3 turnovers. And going into halftime, it was like, oh, shoot. It was 14-7 there for a while. You're thinking, wow, this is just not good. No one's doing anything good right now. Cam, Arinho, what do you think about BetOnline.net?
You hated last week's game. As much as you hated last week's game, I love BetOnline that much. Okay. I love BetOnline. I love to bet online, and I love using BetOnline to do it.
BetOnline is where the game starts. There are lines, parlays. You can go and see the Baylor line against Iowa State. Are you surprised that Baylor's 3-point dog?
No.
Yeah, I'm not either.
I'm seeing that all year now. I know it's that old cliche of give the home team 3 automatically, but I didn't think Oregon should have been 3-point favorites. They proved me wrong, but
Yeah.
we see it every week now. Yeah, so I'm not surprised.
Is the home team just going to win in college football all year,
That's
except
what
for
that's what
Auburn?
they think. The royal
Vegas.
they think.
Bet online. You can go see what Vegas thinks because all the lines and stuff are right
They
there.
didn't think UT would win. They were at home
Yeah,
2 weeks ago.
two against Alabama. BetOnline.ag. Check it out. There are things that I liked. Richard Reese, is that sustainable? I don't know. I don't want to say yes.
Not that.
I don't.
Probably.
Right. Asking Richard Reese to go 19 carries, no one else had more than 8 for 156 yards, 3 touchdowns is probably unreasonable against Iowa State or Oklahoma or Texas or anybody else. Did he come through? This is a good question to chew on. Did Richard Reese prove himself to be the number 1 back for Baylor on Saturday, or is that spot still open because by virtue of it being a game against Texas State?
I think he did.
Wow.
I don't know that I had some fun with it yesterday or Saturday, excuse me. I had some fun with it, but I don't know that the coaching staff agrees with me. I wrote about this for Inside the Bears, but the parallels to Abram Smith, I thought were there on Saturday. 3 touchdowns against Texas State for a bit of a coming out party.
Is he faster than
Yes,
Abram Smith?
yeah.
Abram
Smith was not the fastest back in the world. Very good. I also think Reese isn't quite as physical. But I think a lot of the parallels are there. That said, it was so easy to split it up between Smith and Ebner last year. And I think that's just going to be more guys this year. I don't know that Reese is going to, especially as a true freshman, is not going to get as many carries as Abram Smith would in a game. So I think you'll still see some Tay McWilliams when he's back. You'll see some Quaylen Jones like they saw a lot of in Provo. And then I think Squirrel Williams is one of your favorite terms, almost an X factor in this season.
Yeah.
If he can give you what he did against BYU and what he did against Texas State, and your running backs prove to be like number 1 running backs, that is going to make this offense tick so much. I love what Squirrel can give you out of the backfield, but you need a horse too. And I think Richard Reese is the horse, but I don't think this week's performance was indicative of what he's going to give you every week.
Blake,
do you get what I'm saying with that?
I see. Yeah, I agree.
You'll get that. You'll get those Abram Smith numbers through 2 or 3 guys.
I agree, kind of. I just don't think like your answer of yes, he is that back, the starting.
I think
back.
He's number 1 though. I really think he is.
When Tay comes back, Tay's going to be able to vie for that, especially off of end. We haven't gotten to really see him full strength against even a decent opponent. We only saw him against Albany. Reese was
and he
obviously
wasn't very good against Albany. To be fair.
That's a good point. Shapen also had that 1 carry. Ted Harrison tweeted it. Why could we not run that play one time against BYU? Just one time.
That worked.
One time. They didn't. And Shapen scored. Legs great. Cameraman couldn't find him. Announcer couldn't find him. Really funny. Like
Announcer,
that's
tough.
That guy had a very interesting Saturday. He was excited.
He was
guy.
up and down, man. I watched the highlights.
Oh yeah, and he didn't really know who. I don't know who his spotter was, but I don't even know if it was the spotter. It was probably a pretty experienced spotter. That was something on Saturday. If you guys listened to it, I hope your eardrums are okay after that 4-yard completion. Yeah, I was on a tangent. Announcer. Oh, here's what I didn't like also. I keep going back between things I do and didn't like. The running game, 293 yards is absurd. That's really good. Maybe Texas State just has an elite passing defense. Maybe they just have like the best passing defense in the Sun Belt.
Yeah, probably.
Hopefully so, because Blake Shapen finished 15 for 26. By the way, that's not a very good completion percentage.
It's not. It's all right. It's not terrific.
184 yards is not a lot against anybody, much less Texas State. 1 touchdown and 1 interception. Shapen, a touchdown and an interception. I'm waiting right here in my house in Waco, Texas, for Blake Shapen to have Seth Russell numbers, Zach Wilson numbers, Bryce Petty numbers. I'm waiting for him to just throw the ball far. every now and then
They're not doing the Phil Montgomery offense. They're
is he
not going to do that.
Is he just not that guy? Do I
Right.
have to come to
He's
terms?
not that guy.
Do I have to come to terms with the fact that he is not all Big 12 caliber at quarterback? Do I have to come to terms
Those are
with
two
that?
different things. But yeah, you should probably get to that level.
Is he just serviceable? Is that what you're telling me right now?
I think he's good. I also think he's not going to be Bryce Petty or Seth Russell or me. Zach Wilson could really air it out.
But can he be?
He's not going to be that. I don't know that he is. I think Baylor can still succeed without him being that. He does. Gary Bohannon didn't do it, and they went 12-2 last year.
Gary Bohannon almost beat Florida, by the way.
Yeah, how about that? Had a lead with 5 minutes.
Transitive property. BYU would kill Florida. Florida would get run out of the stadium.
But it's Oregon with the belt.
And Georgia. Everybody.
Anyway. No, he's never going to be those guys. That's not to say he can't be an all Big 12 quarterback, because you've seen the field of Big 12 quarterbacks.
Probably not this year, but
it's not as great as it's ever been. Okay.
Can no one be all Big 12 quarterback? Please? Can no one win that award this year?
It's going to be tough, man, because it's going to be Spencer Sanders at this rate, or Dylan Gabriel. But he could be a top 3 quarterback. I think he's going to get progressively better.
By
he is still young.
I
know he's got experience, but he is still young.
Top 3 in the Big 12 because there are 3 actual quarterbacks in the Big 12?
Yeah, essentially. And Shapen had the 4th best QBR of the week.
It's an exaggeration, obviously. But yes, him having the 4th best QBR is nuts.
Big 12.
That just shows that quarterback play in the Big 12 is just not where it probably needs to be.
Donovan Smith had himself a night.
All of that, first half bad. Second half, much better. Good. Yes. Second half, very good. Against Texas State. Again, let's temper our...
Better than they did against Texas State last year.
Yes.
There you go. There's my positive take in the night.
Al Walcott with 9 tackles leading the team. TJ Franklin, Matt Jones looked good. Matt Jones might be the best defensive player on the team right now. Yeah. Through 3 games.
I've liked Franklin so far.
He's in my 1. Yeah, Franklin, if he doesn't get hurt against BYU.
But Jones has had the best, yeah.
Franklin keeps getting hurt in general, which is... I hate it for the guy.
Back-to-back weeks, he's needed to be ushered off the field. Not helped off, but ushered off.
So Brooks Miller, too. Brooks Miller with a sack this week.
Had a sack, yeah.
Didn't see that coming, did you?
Brooks Miller.
Didn't see that coming. Everybody.
That was, honestly, Drake, we bill ourselves as experts. Okay? You maybe more than me a little bit. We don't go to practices really during the summer, but we like to think of ourselves as experts. They said the name Brooks Miller over Derek Smith, said it over the public address, the name Brooks Miller.
Yeah.
And I was like, who the hell is that?
Baltimore Orioles legend, Brooks Miller.
Something like that, yeah.
Anyway, full stop, yeah.
He plays linebacker for the Baylor Bears.
Dave Aranda spoke in the postgame press conference he usually does. And
3-minute opener, by the way, just in case. I know you won't play all of that, but 3.5-minute opener before saying, guys, I'll take any question.
He did mention how, too, they went into halftime kind of themselves thinking, we are in decent danger of losing to Texas State. They come to Jesus meeting, and we're like, kumbaya. Somebody got the djembe out, and they roasted some s'mores and decided in the second half, we're going to play wild and free. And it worked. Maybe they continue to play wild and free. I don't think that's going to happen.
Young and wild and free.
They're going to go on the road, and the road team's fans are going to say, hey, stop playing wild and free. And from what we know this season so far, Baylor's going to go, you're right. We should stop doing that.
We should not do that. Yeah.
All right. Dave Aranda spoke in the postgame press conference. He's coming up next. Coach Aranda, what do you think about that win against Texas State?
It's a happy locker room. I'm proud of the guys and coaches too. I think, the week at halftime, I think is probably the best way to kind of speak into this, because I think everybody wants to do well and everybody wants to contribute and be seen, be recognized for kind of their efforts, and so appreciate that. But I think halftime, I felt like there some nervous energy with coaches, and then with some of the players. There's like I commented, man, I'm hearing like some F-bombs in the locker room, and generally that's not us. I don't know, not that that's this or that, but I don't know. I felt like the second quarter was that too. I think you could feel some of that, and just the nervousness and just all of it. And guys, you're in a battle, and we're trying to get it right, and it ain't going right, and all that. And so some of the talks at halftime was that. So I go there and say, hey, dude, we need to drop all. Yeah, I think so much of it what we're fighting is maybe just expectations. Hey, it's supposed to be like this, or it used to be like that, and I have to do a better job of kind of being out in front of that. I think I think it's imaginary stuff. I think sometimes coaches, we're supposed to be this, we're supposed to be that. I was just talking to a fellow earlier where it's like, there's a freshman right there, and we should be, all fired up that, he knows the call, and that no one had to tell him what to do this time. And so I just think, from kind of where we think and kind of where it's at, I think it's all good. But I think what we want to be able to do is not get in the way of kind of that journey to be what we can become. And so with just whatever it is, ego or just, some personal, personal expectation, that ain't really what it is. And so we're working as best we can to see people and meet them where they're at and not get in the way of it. And so I think there's a lot of that in this game. And so, some gritty, ugly stuff that I think you have to go through for it to get to the beautiful, clean, polished, shiny stuff. And I think, in the process of doing that, again, how we handle it as coaches is so important. To do it as a teacher and as a, as kind of like a guide, really, would be great to do. And give guys the ability and courage to still show up, right? Even amongst failure and amongst disappointment. And so we'll see. I think with the game, I'm thankful for the 4 quarters. I thought there was energy all throughout. I thought there was some good edge by the offense, and some violence from the start of the play to the end of the whistle, and those were things that maybe hadn't been there the previous 2 games. So thankful for that. And then I think execution-wise, we were able to execute after mistakes, and I think that's a big those are all the things that are kind of unseen a lot of times, or unappreciated, that are just kind of part of it, but it just takes so much to go through it because, if you're the dude, man, you're humiliated and you're embarrassed and just all this other stuff, and you kind of have to, the trust level's got to be high for someone to kind of show up after a mistake and still give it their all. And so I thought we were better in that front.
Dave, the expectations for your offensive and defensive lines were so high coming into the season. Mm-hmm. Through 3 games, what have you seen from each unit?
I think the defensive lines, there's been, we're battling through some, we're missing some guys, and so we missed another guy today. And so I think there has been, today was probably the most we struggled with the run, but there were some throw downs that they ran it, and so there was a good job by them of, Texas State, of having numbers and going against the numbers and stuff. Took us a little bit to make adjustments to all of it, which we eventually did. But I feel really good about defensive front and their ability to run, stop, and then I thought today was better pass rush-wise too. And so I think that was a huge emphasis for them. And so I think, Apu is a great example. I think Apu, we've had 3 games. Apu's been a captain twice. And, Apu from where, I think his story, and I'm hesitant to speak on it because it's not through yet, but I think, just his maturity, I would call it a growing maturity, and his leadership is just way appreciated. And I think, last week at BYU, I mean, I think we were talking maybe this before, is, in the huddles, he would be, saying all the things that I would say. And when when you kind of say weird stuff, you recognize your words with somebody else. And so I'm seeing it in Apu, and it's like, dude, come on, man. And he's saying, oh, but I mean, what he's trying to do, I think, he was seeing guys with big eyes and stuff, and he was trying to get to him. And of all, I mean, I should have seen it prior to him, and I didn't. And so that's just the care factor and just the giving of himself, way cool to see. And so I think that growth and where, what they've been doing, I think is good. I think offensive line-wise, there's been a lack of edge. I think so edge would be, the violence and the force that you unload on people, and all between the start of the play and the echo of that whistle. And I think that I take a lot of responsibility for that. I have not talked that as much as I should. I think the previous year, so last year I talked about it probably a lot, because I think those guys thought edge was after the play, talking this and pushing that and everything. And so to really kind of clean that up last year was a whole thing. And I don't know, my mistake for not speaking it enough. And we've spoke on it quite a bit this past week. And I think we've showed signs of that today. And not that we're there by any means, but we found the interstate. So we can kind of open it up now.
All right. That was Dave Aranda. I'm Drake Toll. That's Cameron Stewart. This has been Locked On Baylor. Thank you for making it your first listen every single day. Come back tomorrow. Over the course of the week, we've got a lot to break down. DJ Lagway might go to Baylor. Is it top 10? DJ Lagway might go to Baylor. I know, Cam, you're an expert on that.
I wrote about it.
His dad
on the internet.
Dad played for Baylor, in case you didn't know that. That's true fact. True fact.
Yeah. Great career.
Also, across Baylor football, I don't know. There's some other stuff that I want to get into, if that's okay with you, over the course of the week.
I'd love that.
And we're going to preview Iowa State. Huge game. Baylor loses to Iowa State. Say hello to 7-5. Baylor beats Iowa State. You're still on track for a 10-2 season. All of that and more on Locked On Baylor.